Through the Collaborate 21 project, we learned how to use the iPad, iMovie, and how to conduct an interview. We had to organize our findings through collaboration. We would like to thank all of the local people that helped us depict the history of the Oaks area through the years.
For our Collaborate 21 project, an iPod lab was brought into our school. Mr. Engel taught us how to make movie trailers so that we would learn the process of iMovie by collaborating in small groups. We also learned how to conduct interviews using the iPad camera to vary our shots and angles as we recorded.
I am a part of the Collaborate 21 project titled Through the Years. Our 7th grade class concentrated on the topics of farming, school, and the Oaks Hospital, as well as the role of women in fashion as our main local areas. We began our project with a visit to the Dickey County Museum, located right here in Oaks, North Dakota. We researched local history books to get a better understanding of our community through the years. A local farm wife, whose family has been in farming for several generations, came to school and shared many farm tools and other items farmers used years ago. Many of these items came from the Guelph School farming room. We interviewed a retired teacher and librarian. A great-grandmother in her 90s shared her life as a child, a young mother, and a member of the workforce. One student interviewed his grandfather who has been farming for years. We also visited with a retired nun at the OCH and a local history buff who now lives in a former hospital.
We bought this place in 2002 from Grace Johnson, and she had it as a bed and breakfast. She called it the House of 29 because there are 29 rooms in this building. The house was built in 1923 to 1924. Mr. Noonan built the creamery, and at that time he had over 1,000 farmers that brought their eggs and their cream and their milk to the creamery. And he was one of the richest men in North Dakota at the time. He moved into the house in 1924, and he lived here for 4 years. He moved out in late 1927. In 1930, Mr. Noonan gave the house to the Sisters of Providence. That's a nun group up in Winnipeg. And they came down to Oaks and they made it into a hospital. It was a hospital from 1930 to 1956. A lot of the wood that you see in this home, these ceilings are high, and you can see the lumber was brought, they had the wood shipped over from Germany. And they had the tiles in the other 2 fireplaces were brought in from Belgium, Netherlands.
The operating room was in the kitchen. The back door was used by the doctors. We have a pantry there now, and that was the x-ray room. And the milk area, recovery room for children, infants. They had a crib out there.
And this room that we're sitting in now?
And they had partitions in this room, and they had individual offices in
This hospital was the first in the state to have what's called e-emergency. So that little camera up there, when we hit this button, brings on certified emergency room doctors, MDs, in Sioux Falls at Avera. And he can zoom that camera in and he can count the hair in my nose if he wanted to. But he can see the monitors, he can start drugs. If our provider isn't quite on the scene yet and it's just the nurses here, he gets the life flight coming.
When you came back as a teacher, what changes did you see from when you were as a child?
What
Changes did you see?
when I came back to teaching? The classrooms were smaller then, which helped a lot, but we had no discipline problems in school at all. We never had any problems. For all the years I taught.
What was the library like when you were a student?
The library was about the same, excepting we didn't have the computers. We had the card catalog, and everything was put on the card catalog. The students had to go to the card catalog to look up and see if a book was in or if they had it, and that was such a change for me when I started with the library, because I had to learn some computer skills here that I wasn't too great with, but for a while.
I interviewed my grandfather and we discussed how farming has changed through the years. What was your job on a farm as a boy?
We had to go get the cows to bring them up so we could milk them every night. And they'd normally be about 1.5 miles away, way down by the trees. So that was a long process, but then I'd have to feed the chickens, gather the eggs, help chase the turkeys in the barn,